Every few decades, a single infrastructure project quietly shifts the balance of power in Asia. Vietnam is betting $16 billion that one new airport, built not for prestige but to unplug an entire region's air gridlock, could redraw trade routes and break the dominance of Singapore and Bangkok. Air traffic here doubled every 5 to 7 years, and the old city airport has hit a breaking point. But can a single site really reset who owns the future of Asian aviation, or will the gamble backfire? Vietnam's skies have become a test of limits. In just 5 to 7 years, air traffic across the country has doubled, outpacing not only projections but the physical capacity of its main gateways. Before the pandemic, Tan Son Nhat International Airport in Ho Chi Minh City was designed to handle 25 million passengers a year. Instead, it found itself straining under the weight of nearly 40 million, baggage carousels jammed, runways at full stretch, and terminals overflowing during peak hours. Every arrival and departure had to be slotted into a schedule with almost no margin for error. The mismatch between demand and infrastructure was no longer a future problem, it was a daily bottleneck. Vietnam's aviation boom is not just about more tourists or business travelers, it is powered by a surge in manufacturing exports, a rising middle class eager to travel, and a supply chain shift pulling global companies into the country. The International Air Transport Association and local planners both forecast that this rapid growth is no blip. Vietnam's air traffic is set to keep climbing as incomes rise and trade routes multiply. Airlines added new routes as fast as they could secure slots, but the city's airport, hemmed in by urban sprawl, ran out of space to expand. Even temporary fixes like reconfiguring aprons or squeezing in extra gates could not keep up with the pace. This relentless pressure has made Vietnam's southern economic region, centered on Ho Chi Minh City, one of the most congested aviation corridors in Asia. Cargo, too, has hit a ceiling. Factories producing electronics, garments, and machinery depend on reliable air freight, but delays ripple through the entire export system when planes and trucks back up at the terminal gates. The country's ambitions to become a manufacturing and logistics powerhouse are now directly tied to solving this choke point. The numbers speak for themselves. Traffic doubling every 5 to 7 years, capacity overshot by 15 million passengers, and no room left to build outwards. The urgency is not just about comfort or convenience, it is about whether Vietnam can keep pace with its own economic momentum. If you enjoy understanding why countries invest billions into projects like this, not just how big they are, consider subscribing. This channel breaks down the ideas shaping the future before they become obvious. As the pressure mounts, attention shifts to the only solution with enough scale, a new airport built to absorb explosive growth and unlock the next era of trade, travel, and influence. Urban growth in Ho Chi Minh City has boxed Tan Son Nhat Airport into a shrinking island of tarmac and terminals. The city's relentless expansion has surrounded the airport on all sides with dense residential blocks, factories, and commercial sprawl. Every available patch of land has been claimed by new apartment towers, shopping centers, and industrial warehouses, leaving the airport hemmed in by concrete and congestion. There is no practical way to add new runways or expand cargo aprons. Even the smallest extension would require demolishing neighborhoods or rerouting major roads, a prospect that city planners and residents alike have rejected as unworkable. If you enjoy understanding why countries invest billions into projects like this, not just how big they are, consider subscribing. This channel breaks down the ideas shaping the future before they become obvious. This urban squeeze isn't just a matter of zoning. The airport's proximity to the city's core means that noise restrictions and flight path limitations further choke its ability to handle more flights. Night operations are tightly regulated, and every additional movement risks complaints from thousands of nearby households. Meanwhile, the network of roads feeding Tan Son Nhat is already stretched to its limit. Trucks hauling export cargo and buses ferrying travelers crawl through traffic jams that start miles from the terminal, often turning a short drive into an hour-long ordeal. During peak hours, the bottleneck spills over into surrounding districts, snarling the city's entire transport grid. Inside the airport, the lack of space has forced a patchwork of stopgap measures. Temporary buildings sprout up in parking lots, baggage handling spills into overflow tents, and aircraft sometimes wait on taxiways for a free gate. Efforts to squeeze in more capacity, like reconfiguring aircraft parking or adding remote stands, offer only marginal gains before hitting hard, physical limits. The result is a system running at redline where a single delay can ripple through the schedule and grind operations to a halt. The airport's location, once seen as a strategic asset, now acts as a constraint. As Ho Chi Minh City's industrial and logistics activity intensifies, the concentration of factories and warehouses near the airport compounds the congestion. Exporters find themselves competing with commuters for road space, and every day lost to gridlock chips away at Vietnam's reputation as a reliable manufacturing hub. With no realistic prospect for major expansion, Tan Son Nhut stands as a case study in how urban encroachment can turn a nation's primary gateway into its most glaring vulnerability. The only way forward is to look beyond the city's crowded borders to a site where scale and flexibility are still possible. Long Thanh International Airport sits about 40 kilometers east of Ho Chi Minh City in Dong Nai Province, a deliberate choice that breaks from the pattern of airports boxed in by city growth. Here, Vietnam has secured a vast, mostly rural site stretching across nearly 5,000 hectares, with room to expand toward 5,880 hectares as needed. This is a land bank on a scale rarely seen in Southeast Asia, and it is the foundation for a different kind of airport strategy. Unlike Tan Son Nhut, which is surrounded by dense neighborhoods and factories, Long Thanh's greenfield location offers freedom. There are no apartment towers or industrial parks pressing against the perimeter. Instead, the airport rises from open fields and former plantations, with boundaries set by zoning rather than the limits of urban sprawl. This gives planners the flexibility to lay out runways, taxiways, cargo zones, and future terminals without the compromises forced by tight city footprints. The site lies at a crossroads of major expressways and near deep sea ports, connecting air, road, and sea transport in a single corridor. Its proximity to the manufacturing heartland of southern Vietnam means goods can move quickly from factory to runway, bypassing the urban congestion that slows down older airports. The sheer size of the land bank means that new runways or terminals can be added in phases over decades, avoiding the disruptions and bottlenecks that have plagued other Asian hubs as they tried to retrofit expansion into crowded neighborhoods. This greenfield advantage is not just about space, it is about future-proofing. With nearly 50 square kilometers at its disposal, Long Thanh is designed to scale alongside Vietnam's ambitions, accommodating the next generation of aircraft, logistics parks, and even an airport city if demand calls for it. The freedom to grow is built into the foundation, setting the stage for a hub that can adapt as trade routes and travel patterns shift across Asia. At the heart of Long Thanh's ambitions lies its airside design, a 4-kilometer runway that redefines what's possible for Vietnam's aviation future. The first runway, stretching 4,000 meters in length and 60 meters wide, is engineered to handle the world's largest aircraft, from fully loaded Boeing 777s and Airbus A350s to the next generation of long-haul jets. This is not a regional airstrip or a stopgap extension. It is a launch pad for direct flights to Europe, North America, and the Middle East, even in the heat and humidity of southern Vietnam. The runway's orientation and separation from future parallels are calculated for maximum throughput, with enough space to allow simultaneous arrivals and departures, reducing delays, and opening the door to true hub operations. But the master plan does not stop at a single strip of concrete. Long Thanh's layout is designed as a scalable grid with 4 parallel runways planned at full build-out. Each will be 4,000 meters long, separated by wide safety zones and connected by a network of high-speed taxiways. This modular approach means the airport can double, then quadruple its movement capacity over the next 3 decades without the disruptions that plague older urban-bound hubs. The airfield is mapped for up to 120 or even 160 aircraft movements per hour once all runways are operational, a level of throughput on par with the world's busiest airports. Every technical choice here is a bet on the future. Vietnam is not just preparing for today's traffic, but for a world where long-haul flights link its southern economic region directly with distant continents. The 4-runway grid is both a symbol and a tool. It gives planners the ability to add capacity in phases, attracting new airlines and routes as demand grows. In a region where many hubs are boxed in by city limits or environmental rules, Long Than's airside freedom is its ability to keep expanding runway by runway as Vietnam's role in global aviation takes off. A construction site of this scale runs on contracts, schedules, and a constant race against time. In August 2023, the Vietnamese government awarded the main passenger terminal contract worth 35.9 trillion dong, or about 1.5 billion US dollars, to the Viatur Consortium, a group led by Turkey's IC Iktas, along with Vietnamese and international partners. This contract covers the core of Phase 1, a massive 4-level terminal, the heart of Long Than's first stage, designed to process 25 million passengers a year. The clock is now ticking toward a 2026 opening, with the government and the Airports Corporation of Vietnam pushing for commercial flights to begin as soon as possible. The Viatur Consortium's role is more than pouring concrete. They are responsible for delivering a terminal that blends iconic design with operational efficiency, balancing Vietnamese cultural motifs with the demands of a modern, high-throughput hub. Every day, thousands of workers and engineers coordinate across multiple construction zones, racing to assemble the steel skeleton, install advanced baggage systems, and fit out spaces for airlines and retailers. The contract's value and the tight timeline have made this one of the most closely watched construction projects in Southeast Asia. Vietnam's decision to tap an international consortium reflects a desire to import technical expertise, global standards, and project discipline that are critical for a build of this complexity. The 2026 opening date is more than a milestone. It is a public commitment to airlines, exporters, and investors that Vietnam is ready to compete for the next wave of regional air traffic. With the main terminal rising and the first runway already taking shape, the project is shifting from blueprints to reality. If you enjoy understanding why countries invest billions into projects like this, not just how big they are, consider subscribing. This channel breaks down the ideas shaping the future before they become obvious. The real question now is strategic. As the countdown continues, what will Long Thanh actually change about Asia's aviation map, and who will gain the most from this new gateway? Singapore's Changi Airport and Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport have long dominated Southeast Asia's aviation map, but now both face the limits of their original designs. Changi, built on a carefully reclaimed island site, occupies about 1,300 hectares. Its latest expansion, Terminal 5, will add capacity, but the project depends on further land reclamation and reconfiguring existing runways. Even with those upgrades, Changi's ability to keep growing is boxed in by Singapore's tight geography, high land costs, and strict environmental rules. Every new terminal or runway means shifting roads, relocating facilities, and negotiating with the military for airspace, a complex and expensive dance. Suvarnabhumi Airport, serving Bangkok, started with a much larger footprint, around 3,200 hectares. Early on, it seemed to offer endless room to grow. But as Bangkok's suburbs expanded, the airport became hemmed in by new housing developments and industrial parks. Plans for a third and a fourth runway are on the table, but each step faces resistance from local communities worried about noise and flooding, and rising construction costs add another barrier. Meanwhile, airspace over Bangkok is shared with Don Mueang Airport and a busy city below, making every additional flight a challenge to coordinate. Both airports are pushing forward with expansion projects, but their growth is increasingly defined by workarounds and compromises. The reality is that even Asia's most celebrated hubs are running up against physical and regulatory ceilings. That opens a rare window for a challenger to enter the field, not by squeezing more out of a crowded site, but by starting with a land bank big enough to avoid these constraints for decades to come. Long Than's economic logic centers on more than just passenger numbers. Its freight ambitions are bold. At full build-out, the airport is designed to move up to 5 million tons of cargo each year, a figure that puts it in league with the world's top air logistics platforms. This is no accident. The site's proximity to Vietnam's largest ports, especially the Kai Mep Thi Vai Deep Sea Complex, creates a direct pipeline from factory floors to international markets. Goods can be trucked, railed, or even barged from industrial parks in Dong Nai and Binh Duong straight to the airport's cargo terminals, slashing transfer times and bypassing urban gridlock. Vietnam's planners see Long Thanh as the anchor for a new kind of economic zone, one where manufacturing, logistics, and finance converge around a high-capacity air hub. Dedicated cargo terminals, bonded warehouses, and free trade areas are mapped into the airport's footprint, aiming to attract global freight integrators and e-commerce giants. The ability to offer rapid customs clearance, around-the-clock operations, and seamless links to both air and sea routes is a powerful draw for companies seeking alternatives to the congestion and higher costs of Singapore or Bangkok. If you enjoy understanding why countries invest billions into projects like this, not just how big they are, consider subscribing. This channel breaks down the ideas shaping the future before they become obvious. At the center of this strategy stands the national carrier. Vietnam Airlines is expected to make Long Thanh its main base, with the potential to coordinate schedules, build connecting banks, and attract alliance partners. If successful, this hub-and-spoke model could turn Vietnam from a spoke on someone else's network into a true aviation crossroads, one that not only serves local demand, but also reroutes regional flows through its own territory. For exporters, investors, and logistics firms, the payoff is clear, faster, cheaper, and more reliable access to the global marketplace. Nearly 5,000 households, close to 20,000 people, have been uprooted to make way for Long Thanh International Airport. Entire neighborhoods in Dong Nai province have been cleared, with most families moved into purpose-built resettlement zones such as Loc An Bin Son. The government set aside over $1 billion for compensation, new housing, and public services, but the process has not been free of tension. Some residents argue that the payments fell short of rising land values or failed to cover the loss of farmland and stable livelihoods. Delays in resettlement infrastructure have left others waiting in temporary conditions, uncertain about their future. The financial pressure does not stop at the perimeter fence. Airports Corporation of Vietnam, the state-owned operator, is committing around 110 trillion Vietnamese dong, roughly $5 billion US, for the first phase alone. This is the largest single investment in ACV's history, financed by a mix of internal reserves and commercial loans. If air traffic or revenue falls short, the burden lands on the operator's balance sheet, with implications for the state budget. Unlike some regional mega projects, Long Thanh's main construction is not backed by large, low-interest loans from agencies such as the Japan International Cooperation Agency or the Asian Development Bank. The risk is concentrated at home. Environmental concerns add another layer of uncertainty. The airport's footprint covers thousands of hectares once used for agriculture, with critics warning about the loss of green space, increased noise, and future air pollution. Local groups and non-governmental organizations have raised objections about the adequacy of mitigation plans and the long-term climate impact of a new aviation hub. While the project passed official environmental reviews, complaints over compensation, consultation, and environmental safeguards continue to surface. For all its promise, Long Thanh's future carries risks that cannot be paved over or ignored. Right now, Vietnam isn't just building an airport, it's betting on a shift in Asia's economic map. As supply chains move and air traffic surges, whoever controls tomorrow's gateways shapes who thrives. The true contest isn't about runways, but relevance. In a region defined by momentum, infrastructure decides futures long before the world notices. Let's see who takes off. Share your thoughts below.